Mohenjo Daro, the nuclear catastrophe that happened 2000 BC. In 1920, the discovery of the ancient cities of Mohenjo Daro and Harappa in Pakistan provided the first evidence of the existence of the Indus Valley civilization more than 4,000 years ago, rivaling the civilizations of Egypt and Mesopotamia. These cities demonstrated an extraordinary level of political planning and amenities. Houses had brick-built bathrooms, and many had toilets. Sewage was led into well-built brick sewers that ran along the center of the streets, which were covered with bricks and stone slabs. Cisterns as well and wells were made with thin wedge-shaped bricks, provided the public drinking water supply. Mohenjo Daro also boasted a large bathhouse on High Mound, a citadel overlooking the residential area of the city, built of layers of carefully placed bricks, plaster, mortar, and waterproof asphalt. This bathhouse is generally believed to have been used for ceremonial cleansing. However, in contrast to the well-appointed houses and clean streets, the upper levels of Mohenjo Daro contain squalid makeshift dwellings, a careless mix of urban and industrial activities, and most importantly, a series of more than 40 fallen skeletons scattered across the streets and houses. And Paul Ban from 2002 describes the scene. In a room with public well in one area of the city were found the skeletons of two individuals who appeared desperately to have used their last strength to move by crawling towards the staircase leading from the room to the street. The remains of the two others lying nearby. Elsewhere in the area were found the strangely deformed and incomplete remains of 9 individuals, possibly dumped in a rough pit. In a lane between two houses in another area, 6 more skeletons were loosely covered with soil. Many other skeletons were found buried in layers of rubble, ash, and debris, or lying on the road in distorted positions that indicated an agonizing and violent death. Mohenjo Daro nuclear war in a catastrophe in 2000 BC. A brutal massacre. The remains of these individuals have led many archaeologists so far to conclude that these people all died violently. Sir Mortimer Wheeler, who excavated Mohenjo Daro in the 1950s, believed they were the victims of a single massacre and suggested that the Indus Valley civilization, whose collapse was inexplicable, had fallen to an armed invasion by Indo-Aryans, nomadic newcomers from the northwest, who are believed to have settled in India during the second millennium BC, that's 2000 BC. Wheeler argued that the remains belonged to individuals who had ruled the city in its final hours. So convincing was this theory that it became the officially accepted version of the fate of the Indus Valley civilization. However, many of his claims simply don't add up. There was no indication that the skeletons belonged to soldiers or city defenders, quote unquote, as no weapons were found and the skeletons contained no evidence of violent injuries. Some archaeologists have suggested that the invasion of the Indo-Aryan people took place after the fall of the Indus Valley civilization, while others question whether an Indo-Aryan invasion of the continent occurred. Floods and disease. An alternative theory that has been proposed is the city suffered extensive flooding and that people died as a result of water contamination from diseases such as cholera. Recent research has revealed the significant evidence of flooding at Mohenjo Daro in the form of several layers of muddy clay, a mud flood type of thing. The Indus River changed its course many times and over the centuries gradually moved eastward, which led to periodic flooding within the city limits. Indeed, the massive brick platforms of which the city is built and the fortifications around parts of them seem to have been designed to provide protection against such flooding. The conditions would have been ideal for the transmission of waterborne diseases, notably cholera, although no cholera epidemics have been proven to have occurred. The conclusion in the prevailing trend, according to many archaeologists, is that the victims of the massacre at Mohenjo Daro were simply victims of a natural tragedy of the deadly disease cholera and not of human aggression. But this theory also has many gaps. Why do the remains of the individuals appear in the distorted positions, almost frozen at the moment of death? And why do they appear to have been struck abruptly? Surely if they died of cholera, their bodies would have been buried or burned so that they would not be scattered around the city. Evidence? An atomic war? There's a growing number of alternative archaeologists and researchers who are unconvinced by theories that do not satisfactorily explain the circumstances of death of the skeletal remains and who have sought other explanations. One such person is David Davenport, an Anglo-Indian researcher who spent 12 years studying ancient Hindu texts and the evidence at the site where the great city once stood. In his book, Atomic Catastrophe 2000 BC, he reveals some surprising findings. The objects found at the site appear to have been fused, vitrified by very high temperatures up to 1,500 degrees centigrade, followed by rapid cooling. Within the city itself, there appears to be an epicenter about 50 kilometers wide, within which everything had crystallized or melted. 60 kilometers from the center, the bricks had melted on one side, indicating a shock wave. A. Gabrovsky, in his book Riddles of Ancient History, reported the discovery of at least one human skeleton in the area with a radioactivity level at about 50 times greater than the normal level of radiation. Davenport argued that was found in Mohenjo Daro corresponds exactly to what happened in Nagasaki and Hiroshima in Japan. Davenport's theory met with intense interest from the scientific community. Internationally renowned expert William Strum said, "The melting of the bricks at Mohenjo Daro could not have been caused by a normal fire," while Professor Antonio Castellani, a spacecraft engineer in Rome, stated, "It's possible that what happened at Mohenjo Daro was not a natural phenomenon." Since there is no evidence of volcanic eruption at Mohenjo Daro, one answer that has been proposed is that the ancient city could have been irradiated by an atomic explosion. If this is true, it would be impossible to ignore the conclusion that the ancient civilization possessed high technology. If Mohenjo Daro was destroyed by a nuclear disaster, who created the weapons and how? If not, then what was it that produced enough heat to vitrify stone and bricks? What could explain the high level of radioactivity in the skeletons? And how did all these people die in an instant? We believe it's time to stop accepting the sterile view of the world that is communicated to us by officially accepted science and start digging a little deeper. And the reference is Ban, 2002, written in Bones, How Human Remains Unlock the Secrets of the Dead. So we see that because of our advanced technology today, we can understand what went on 2000 BC, 4,000 years ago. Obviously, they must have had very advanced technology themselves. Please leave your comments about this, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.